liberated, freed, released, free from traditional social restraints, sisters, girls or women who share a common ancestry, allegiance, character, or purpose with another or others, fellow Black women or girls.
Greetings, peace and blessings. Sister Charlene Muhammad with Liberated Sisters. Thank you for joining us today. We have a beautiful show. I'm very excited to bring it to us. We have very special guests. And I was telling them it was no surprise to me that our show would fall on the Holy Day of Atonement. So first and foremost, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is his servant and messenger. And happy Holy Day of Atonement. Here I go. Happy Holy Day of Atonement. We pray that you spread the word. I see that, unfortunately, but per usual for Liberated Sisters, it appears that 2 of our Facebook streams are not even connecting for us. So you can tune in here at Facebook. I think it's showing on my page, Closing the Gap. Well, it's not linked up there, and also on my YouTube channel, Liberated Sisters. But before we get into today's Justice Report, I pray that you all are enjoying a beautiful Holy Day of Atonement in honor of the 30th anniversary of the Million Man March. And I would like to share my screen so that we can get into our Justice Report. Right before that, I do want to let you know what we will be talking about today. And where is that? Our beautiful sister Candace Owens has been setting the internet on fire for many different reasons. One of those, and she is a podcast, very prominent podcast talk show host. And one thing that she has been doing as of late is calling on people to take their children out of, get this, not just schools, which are lower grades, the elementary grades, but she said public, private, higher learning institutions. And when I saw that, I said, wow, it reminded me of the sacrifice and the call and the effort by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the very early pioneers of the Nation of Islam, such as Mother Bernstein Muhammad, the reformer, whom we will have her daughter, Sister Medina, on soon, God willing, to talk about those efforts. And I may read something out of her book about their sacrifices, having gone to jail. I mean, the teachers were arrested, some of the parents, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad aptly said, if you're going to arrest me, then arrest them, then I am their teacher, arrest me too. But today we have a Muhammad University of Islam at Chicago, Mas Mariam, our flagship school, and we have Muhammad universities all around the country, and we have Muhammad parents and others who homeschool. we have been doing this for quite a while, and so hopefully I'll be able to show a clip of Sister Candace and how she now homeschools. I think it is her 6-year-old daughter, but maybe it's sixth grade. But I will have that actual fact there. But she's been highlighting that on her show, and people have been doing that. I'm talking about just frustrated with how their children have been educated and what's going on. So what we'll have as our guest, who we will have as our guest today, is Sister Tioka Muhammad. She is the MGT student coordinator for the Utica, New York Nation of Islam Study Group. And she and her husband, student minister and former Utica Study Group coordinator, Brother Courtney Muhammad, they homeschooled their son, Brother Shaqual Lewis Muhammad, who is now Dr. Shaqual Lewis Muhammad, brother Dr. Shaqual Lewis Muhammad. And it is something because Sister Tioka, when my children were in school, I really needed help. And shout out to Sister Donna Muhammad of Memphis, who is a contributing writer to the Final Call newspaper, because all along my life in the Nation of Islam, as stuff was happening, I'd say, Sister Donna, I need help. And she would point me to the right direction. And Sister Donna was a member, if not one of the coordinators, but if I'm incorrect, Allah forgive me, for the Muhammad University Homeschool Network. And I did it. I was able to do it. And we could talk about my children down the line. But today it's about Sister Tioka, Brother Courtney, and Brother Dr. Shaqual. So before we come to them, and also get your questions ready, because Brother went to the School of Latin American Medicine in Cuba. You know, I remember being an early believer when Brother Fidel Castro, when he invited Minister Farrakhan, and Minister Farrakhan and many from the delegation of the Nation of Islam took that trip. And I was inspired, like, if I ever have children and any of them want to be a doctor, that's what I want them to do, and that's where they'll go. So anyway, let me not go too far on Charleneisms. We will have the Justice Report, and we'll come back with our beautiful guests. Y'all, they're so beautiful. And let them give their opening remarks, and we'll carry on with the show, all righty? So bear with me. I'm on my ones and twos. I'll stay here and let's share screen. Ooh, look at this. Can you see it? Let's see. I don't know what you're looking at. I need to. You can't see it yet. Oh, look at that. The Million Man March. Who was there? I wasn't there. I was there on the radio. All right, let's get into it. Hopefully, I want to show the full image of it. I'll just leave it right there and go to the first page of it, okay? Not Chicago is like a war zone, but ooh, Chicago is like a war zone. But let's get into this article here, the 30th anniversary. And is it coming up well? I want you to have that fully. Sorry, everybody. I'll do it a little differently. This will be the highlight for the Justice Report, and I'll keep it right there. We're going to deal just with this article so that the guests can have the bulk of the time. How about that? There it is. Let's go through it a little bit. The 30th anniversary of the Million Man March, Holy Day of Atonement 2025. It will be commemorated this Sunday, October 19th at Mosque Mariam in Chicago. I talked to my daughter today at a day of service at Simply Wholesome in Los Angeles, and she called me after it. She said, "Mom, I'm surprised," she said, "because there are so many people who came up, and we asked several of them if they knew about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam, and they were saying, no, not really. But we asked them, had they heard of the Million Man March? And they lit up and said, yes. And it was that younger generation that, the enemy went to work to separate the minister from the march. They said, go to the march, but disregard the messenger. Like, how can you do that? But at any rate, here's our article in the Final Call newspaper on that great holy moment 3 decades ago, where the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan made a divine call, and nearly 2 million Black men responded. And the thing about that is that most of them were Christians. But they responded, and they were standing before the world, showing a glimpse of heaven. And Minister Farrakhan made that call because he said he saw the enemy's plan. And this was a call that was given to him by God, and he did it, and he did it so well. The Million Man March was held on October 16, 1995 in Washington, D.C. It was a day devoted to the theme of atonement, reconciliation, and responsibility. It is a day unlike any other in the history of the United States or the world, and it still resonates because of its significance and impact. And we can bear witness just on a small scale. You'll hear people now, um, Million Mamas March, Million Daddies March, all these different kind of million such and such marches have come up. I mean, it has set the tone for a lot of different things. Million Women's March, right? So for decades, Black people, particularly Black men and boys, had been vilified in the media. You know, they were negative images of our Black men portrayed in Hollywood as savages, uncivilized, and as beasts. And these negative images were mass marketed and spread worldwide. There was, as Minister Farrakhan pointed out, menace to society. And he said, what? Well, who was menace one? But all of these colors about so-called Bloods and Crips and all of these, just different negative stories were going out, these images. And so there were also issues of fratricidal violence and drugs that had permeated Black communities by our open enemies. Minister Farrakhan issued a call for Black men to accept responsibilities for themselves, their families, and communities. You can read more about this in the Final Call newspaper. That's finalcall.com. And we also invite you to subscribe to the Final Call newspaper. This is October 16th, the 30th anniversary of the historic Million Man March. If you remember where you were, feel free to drop that in the chat. We're going to go now to I didn't even play any Justice Report music, but we're going to go now to our guests. I'll let them know that we're going to come to them for their opening remarks. It's Liberated Sisters. We thank Closing the Gap Broadcast Network, our mother show on Saturday. Sister Starla Muhammad, Student Minister Chad Muhammad, Student Minister James Muhammad, our network founder, and all of the other broadcasters on the network. Thank you all for helping to make Closing the Gap possible. And please donate to our mother show as much as you can to help us keep our platform on the air. I will share how you can do that momentarily. So let me show you what we will be talking more about right now, and they can give us their opening remarks. This is our brother, Dr. Shaquall Lewis Muhammad. Now, the facts are in the article, but I'm just going to go right now in my head and say I think he was 16. And I said, what? I was having palpitations about sending my daughter to medical school after high school when he was already there, braving it. And of course, we also have two of our beautiful sisters. I'll pull their article too from our beautiful Farrakhan family who went through the medical school successfully and survived. And so let's bring in Sister Tioka, Brother Courtney, and Brother Dr. Shaquall Lewis Muhammad to talk about homeschooling in the Nation of Islam and their journey to medicine. Assalamu alaikum. You're muted. There you go.
Walaikum salam.
How are you all?
Crazy to Allah.
Especially well on this day, the 30th anniversary.
That's right. You got that holy day glow too. Look at you all.
All praise.
Happy holy day. Happy holy day. Thank you for being with me because I wasn't going to cancel. I said, well, you can't cancel. It's holy. I mean, it's holy day, but we're talking about him. And we'll lift up his words in terms of educating our own and the sacrifices they made. But we'll start, if you all don't mind, with our beautiful sister in the middle. And then, Brother Doctor, we're going to go to your father, and then we'll come to you. And I would like for you all to share your opening remarks in terms of being a family who educated your own through the Muhammad University Homeschool Network and going all the way through Brother's dreams of becoming a doctor, and just how did you make that happen? So your opening remarks on why we're here to talk about the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, which is to educate our own. And thank you.
Thank you so much for having us. This is a great honor. And for it to be on the Holy Day of Atonement makes it even more special. I'm Sister Tioka Muhammad. This is the first person that I homeschooled. And I'm thankful to Allah for allowing me to get through However, I'm still homeschooling. Enough about me. Let's talk about the MUI Homeschooling Network. So my journey as a homeschooling parent, and not really sure what I was doing, but watching sisters do it in the Nation of Islam. And also understanding that homeschooling actually started with the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It gave me all the confidence in the world that I can do it. So once I started studying about doing it and ran into some type of difficulties that I had to deal with as far as the education, the Department of Education here, I realized that it takes a village thing was important. So I needed to collaborate with other sisters that were doing the same thing, right? Pool resources. So out of that came the MUI Homeschooling Network with sisters around the nation, all the way as far as London, got together and started to homeschool together, right? Virtually. Before there was Zoom, we were doing it. We were figuring out on conference calls. And we were all sharing ways to be successful in this. Out of that, I've homeschooled my oldest, which is brother Dr. Shaquel. And all the way to the youngest, I have a 12-year-old right now. I still currently give my services as far as helping other homeschooling families, not just in the nation, but also in the community. Because right now, homeschooling is on the forefront because people are learning that what they have to offer is a lot better than what they're offering in the school right now for our children. This is the most I ever did, but I'm going to say enough about me right now because I think I'm a little bit nervous.
Oh, you can't tell. You're doing a very good job. And Sister Chioka, I didn't know that we were homeschooling others of your children. You're phenomenal. And yes, I remember as well. We were on those phone calls. We were getting it done. But go ahead. You all continue. You're doing a great job, sister.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, ma'am. And that was the start of my homeschool journey. Brother Shaquel was the start of my homeschooling journey. And I just say praise be to Allah. I'm going to pass it now to this guy over here because in reality, knowing that I had the confidence to homeschool that first originated from the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the teacher of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that's given to us by the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan. But I could not do it with that much confidence without the support of my husband. So I'm going to let you take that one.
That's right.
Well, she left out Shemaiah, who's 26, who she homeschooled, left out Soraya, who's 20 at Howard University, who she homeschooled. And then the last one is Salam, who is 12, who she's homeschooling. He's given her the most problems, without question. So it doesn't get easier.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah, and to her point, she's not just done it for our children, but she's helped many of those sisters and brothers around the Nation of Islam with the homeschooling network that she formed early on in the homeschool journey here in Utica. And it really came out of some of the difficulties and challenges that she had here in Utica with the school district. It's not easy taking your child out of school. It's not easy convincing them or others around us that it can be done by us for our own children. And my journey with this probably started with my mother. I was born and raised as a Black nationalist, a Pan-Africanist with Garvey. So it was always about teaching our own and striving to do what we can do to re-educate us from the system of miseducation. So at a certain age, my mother said, if she could have stayed home, if my father made enough money, she would have stayed home with us. So I had already set it up in my mind, because I didn't really like the public school system, that if I were to be married, my children were not going to go into the public school system. And so when me and Tioka got together, it was understood in our courtship that our children would not be schooled in this system. And pulled her off the job. went to work, and she went to work. So at that point, she was on the grind. And I remember with Shaquel, when he got to the 9th grade. Can I tell the story?
Sure.
I can tell the story. When he got to the 9th grade, I went to school. My mother set me up. I didn't think I needed to go to college, but she set me up to go to college, and I got my bachelor's degree and so-called educated, according to the American way. And when he got to the 9th grade, she told me it's time for me to start the education process with Shaquel. I said, why? She said, because I only went to the 9th grade. I never made it to the 10th grade. I ended up dropping out and getting my GED in the 9th grade. I don't think I can take him on through the higher grades. I said, well, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the woman is the first teacher. I don't know if she remembers that. She's well qualified to take the children through the lower grades all the way up until college. And so I put the battery in her back. I let her know that I'm here to support her, whatever she needs. And there was some little bumps in the road with math and what have you. And I was good at math, so I helped them through that. But she realized, just like she said in the beginning, that when she heard from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that we can do this, she said it in her mind, but she still ran into that wall where she felt that she wasn't capable of taking them into the higher grades. And once we pushed her past that, as you can see, we got a doctor out of it. Maybe we might get another one out of that, and others that have been truly educated, not through this school system, but through a knowledge of self. So with that said, the idea of going to Cuba, when the minister mentioned the scholarships, I think growing up as a Black national and a Pan-Africanist, Fidel Castro was a hero in my house. My mother grew up in Harlem. So when Fidel came to New York, when he took over the island, she would tell the stories of Fidel with such love in honor of the man when he would come, and how he came to Harlem and hung out with Black folks. He didn't hang out with white folks. And that endeared me to Fidel in the island of Cuba. So when I heard that there were scholarships to become a doctor, I let her know right there, we want to set Shaquel up, if that's what his will is, to become a doctor. So I'll end with that. And I am a Holy Day of Atonement Million Man March baby. I was there. I was a local organizing committee chair in Utica, New York, which brought a bus back. And that launched me into more public speaking and striving to do exactly what Minister Farrakhan asked us to do, to go back to our communities and make them a safe and decent place to live. And then that's how I ended up coming into the nation from the Million Man March.
Wow, look at that. That is phenomenal. Ooh, that Million Man March and the local organizing committees. I just remember the run up. I wasn't in the nation yet. I came in 95, but I'm so glad that you found your way in, brother. Look at your beautiful family. And thank you for what you shared. Sister Tioka, I'm not sure if I mentioned that too. That was one of my things as my daughter, she's the oldest, but when they got higher into the education, I felt too, brother, that I didn't have said, oh, you're going to need to get someone else. And I was, at that time, I got a sister scientist here. Her name is Sister Charisse, to do math and science with them. And that is some of their loves. Like, they're heavy in math and science. And so, but now let's go to, not me, Brother Dr. Shaquel. Thank you for what you shared, brother. Brother, your opening remarks, young doctor. Congratulations, too.
Thank you. I appreciate it. First off, in the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, Muhammad is his messenger. And I further thank him for leaving the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, to continue and lead us and guide us. What can I say? I think I'm starting to really like telling this story about, a lot of people keep asking, how can a homeschool little brother can make it this far, and all I can say is I'm a product of the teaching of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and proof that I'm one of many proofs that it is real life-giving teachings. And I can remember listening to the minister. I can't remember exactly when, but we were just talking, probably was 11 or 12 years old when I heard about, the revolutionary medicine in Cuba that was told to us by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. At that time, I was, a young, very curious young man, and my first thought was to wanted to be to do something with engineering or something innovative. I loved electronics and wanted to break it down and figure out what was how things work. And during that same time, probably the early 2000s, when the minister was um, teaching about the 9 ministries, and I just kept thinking of how can I be of the most use to the community? What can I do? So around that same time, I'm trying to figure out like what can how can my hands be put to work um, the most possible. And I my mind was shifting towards medicine around the same time the minister was talking about Cuba. So we decided um, to go down there and check it out and see firsthand how the school was and everything. So my mind went from kind of like engineering, and then I started to like wanted to learn more about the nervous system and neurology. I wanted to be a neuroscience or neurosurgeon. Um, I learned about Brother Ben Carson and things like that. So my mind was changing, and I wanted to figure out how can I be more closer to the people. That I felt like neurosurgery was too specialized. It was too high up. I wouldn't be able to get in contact with enough people, being too subspecialized. And then it wasn't until I was actually down there and had firsthand in the class to learn about how community medicine, real community revolutionary medicine was being done down there. I had no choice but to want to be in the primary care setting in the underserved community, um, and work for the people in that setting. So there's so much we can talk about, and but like I said, my journey from going from the thinking of a 12-year-old boy until now, I really see the impact of what Allah has done for us.
That is really beautiful. If we could, let's highlight some of the article on the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and our dear brother President Fidel. This is on can you all see it? Okay, good. This is on one of the trips to Cuba. This was in 2006. Sister Nisa Islam Muhammad wrote this article. This published in January this year. Activist Danny Glover does a lot there, but yeah, in this photograph, Minister Farrakhan and his delegation met privately with President Castro during their visit. And look at Minister Akbar. Look at the delegation.
Right.
Oh my God.
Brother Ishmael.
Yeah. Oh my God, our brother Dr. Conrad Worrell, who's made this transition. Brother Shaquille, let me get to your article. I was about to ask you questions. Look at him. You all see him? Oh, not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. Pardon me. Here we go. Here's Dr. Shaqua. Now, can we see him? Nope.
No, I don't see
There
him.
he is.
Hey,
Yeah, so I was about to start saying things, but these are it's in the final call. So let's just go through this a little bit because I wanted to know when you were there. Oh, look at this. Look at your beautiful family. Okay, before we go into it, how does this impacting your other siblings?
They express nothing but pride for me, and wanted to, I wouldn't say follow in my footsteps, but strive for excellence, like like we have.
Wow, this is beautiful. We're getting a lot of all praises due to our lives. Congratulations, you're such a blessing. Let's look into the article a little bit more. So it's and this is written by Sister Tioka. So thank you for this, Sister Tioka. And she comes out with an article, a quote by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Knowledge of self makes you a master of yourself. It makes you discipline yourself. Without education, you are not free. You are ignorant and a slave to the educated. This is from Message to the Black Man in America. And so, wow, you worked. Oh, it was Dr. Larry Muhammad. Wow. So you went through Dr. Larry was our director at MUI at that time.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh my goodness. This is a lot. Hold on. I just want to leave the picture there and I want to talk to you. Okay. So I remember my daughter wanted to she wanted to be a heart surgeon. And I said, well, anyway, she's going to medical school, would have to be Cuba because of our affordability, right? And I remember talking to you and you said your son was 16. It was 16 at the time, right? Or maybe I talked to you and he was already there, but he was 16.
So when we first applied, and this is an interesting story. So we submitted his application at 16.
Mm-hmm.
And because he was so young, it wasn't Dr. Larry and MUI that was concerned, and it wasn't Cuba that was concerned. It was IFCO, and IFCO is the organization that you go through to actually go to Cuba, and they were concerned because he was young. And they had already had some children or some students that had gone to Cuba and haven't gone through the program because they were having a hard time with managing their lives there. You know, and
Third world nation.
Third world nation. Yep. Not, you know, hot water is sometimes, you know, food is.
No, go ahead, sister. They were
They were concerned. They were like, you know, at 16, you know, as far as him being mature enough to go. And I was on a mission to convince them, like, this is not a typical 16-year-old. Like, his mind is ready. He's determined. And so he had to wait. And that broke Shaquille heart. He was upset. He was so, because we were ready. So what I did was I was able to homeschool him into college so that he can get the specific prerequisite that he needed to go. So by 15 actually, he had got all of the sciences that he needed. Because he was in MBCC and Utica University, or it used to be called Utica College, at 15. So 16 they denied, and we had a gap. We had a year where we had to figure out what to do with him. So we was like, you know, keep him motivated. We put him through an EMT program, that's all I remember is that you went through the EMT program, and then by the next year they allowed him to come in, and he was 17. So he was the youngest from America, even though they took younger students from other countries. They were very concerned about American students. He was the youngest from America that they accepted. They put him through a very vigorous interview process. I remember, like, they were really trying to make sure that he was ready to be in the third world nation.
Yeah.
And he was the only homeschool. They had never heard of homeschoolers. They've never had a homeschool go through IFCO. Other countries, I'm not really sure what homeschool looked like there, but they were very concerned about him being homeschooled as well.
I'm here.
You remember anything? Oh, okay. You remember anything about?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't remember all the details. I mean, I just remember the phone call I got, you know, that I got rejected the first time, you know, and how I felt, and you know, just, you know, the feeling of, you know, not going to be able to, because I really felt that I didn't want to go to medical school anywhere else but in Cuba.
Yeah.
You know, it had to be Cuba or nowhere else. I already made up my mind. Didn't want to study medicine in America because it wouldn't have that revolutionary aspect that we wanted. But God's grace, we applied again, and I was able to get into the initial the second stage, which was in New York City, where you stay, and I think for 2 nights, I think in Harlem with the other preliminary applicants, and you go through an interview process, and you interview face to face with multiple doctors who have traveled back and forth and facilitated multiple applicants and graduates to the program. So they know very well how the program is run and what it takes to be able to, go through that program. And they really drilled me. I was 17.
It dropped you off, man.
I was dropped off. I had a sleeping bag and a book bag of stuff, and we all was in this church, and they tried to simulate how it would be in Cuba. Everybody slept on the floor, and we all in one big room. We had to share a bathroom, and they interviewed us one-on-one. They had us do group projects to see how well we work with each other. They really wanted to see that we were able to endure that long venture, 7 years of training. And I do remember that despite that, and they told me to my face after I interviewed with them, they said that after they looked at my application on paper, which they initially denied me on. I'm homeschooler. I was 16 at the time. I didn't have my resume was very, very limited. And it wasn't until they spoke with me and interviewed me and heard my thoughts and my answers that they recognized that I would do well. And they told me, they didn't apologize, but they were like, well, we see now that, we understand and we think you'll be able to handle it. And I was able to go through it.
I recall a phone call that you got from one of the organizers, and she was really trying to make sure that it was like you were already accepted then, and it was like almost like a scare tactic.
She was giving me a way out to change my mind. She was giving me definitely giving me that chance, and I didn't budge. I didn't budge.
Give an example.
I can't remember exactly what she was saying, but she was throwing at me how, just the living situation, and you're going to be alone and you're not going to be able to come back whenever. And, speaking very stern, matter of fact, I guess to anyone who wasn't strong would have folded. But I already had made up my mind. There was no change in my mind at that point. So, I listened to her, and, and that was
what got me with it. Hold on. What got me with it was, the tactic was used saying, you're a young Black man studying medicine in Cuba, and you're Muslim. It's going to be very difficult for you. Remember that? Mm-hmm. She was like, it's going to be very, but it was all about just checking, checking to see if he was ready.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sister Charlene, one of the things that, looking at it now in hindsight, is that when he did get rejected, right? Mind you, here we are, parents who had kind of set the course and had something in our minds about what we wanted for our child, for our son. But and I always have it in the back of my mind, are we influencing him into something that we want? Mm-hmm. And it's not for him. I never really spoke to him about this, but this was in the back of my mind that I don't want to be someone who pushed someone so hard that they did it to try to prove something to me or to the family or whatever. But when he got rejected and he cried, we were together, just me and him, and he cried about how he felt. It was confirmation in me that this wasn't about Brother Courtney. This was about Allah, that he somehow had something in him that God had
Hold on.
allowed
Go ahead.
me allowed me and his mother to bring out. And then when he cried and he explained to me how much he had his heart set on it, it made me to really understand that this is divine providence at this point. You know, it lifted the burden off of me, and it kind of said, hey, he's going to be all right. Now, I'm not just sending him into something that he's not going to be able to handle, that he really wants this for himself. One of the big things that kind of had me worried was he was being taught Spanish. We had Spanish tutors for him through the years, but I could not get him. When I would go out with the final call to grab him, I couldn't get him to speak Spanish here in America. He just didn't have the confidence level, but his instructors would tell us he speaks Spanish well. And I'm like, but I can't get him to. And he would always kind of push back, nah. And if we get to it, there's a story about the Spanish that I would like to tell, just to show the brother's heart. You know, he definitely, Allah put this in him. And I'm praying that he continues to do what Allah has put on him to accomplish. So without question, this is something that his mother educated or pulled out of him. And he's doing what Allah has ordained. So I leave that on the table.
Wow, that is so beautiful. Let's go through some of hopefully what this will show what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches about homeschooling. This is an article by Sister Anissa Muhammad. She is our writer, staff writer out of Georgia. And let me add it to the screen. And here we go. My brother's taking a break. I'll let him take a break. So she writes, in Black parents continue to choose independent education for their children. I'll bring you all back into the stage. All right. That the Honorable Elijah Muhammad warned Black people decades ago, if a man won't treat you right, what would make you think he would teach you right? Now, after decades of racism on top of political threats to abolish the teaching of Black and Indigenous history, Black parents across the country are deciding to remove their children from America's public school system. Muslims in the Nation of Islam took their children out of the system at a time when it was illegal to do so, becoming early pioneers of independent education. This was in Detroit, Michigan. In the early 1930s, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the eternal leader of the Nation of Islam, was arrested in Detroit for telling the believing community to take their children out of public schools and enroll them in the newly formed Muhammad University of Islam, which is still up and running in cities across the country today. Quote, in the public schools, the enemy wants to make us better tools of service for him. When we took our children out of the public school, they came to the school and arrested the teachers. Elijah Muhammad went to the jail and said, I am their teacher, so if you're going to arrest them, arrest me too. That's what he said. This, according to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he is the national representative of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Minister Farrakhan recalled this at the 23rd anniversary of the historic Million Man March and Holy Day of Atonement. And if you're just joining us and I'm not aware, this is the 30th anniversary of the Million Man March. So today, here's a quote. If you have an independent school, this is really key. Somebody paid a price, like they went to jail. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, Sister Shioka.
I said, yes, I'm being witness. That's right. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I mean, Brother Shakar, doctor, you just, they was trying to, like check you out and make sure you were ready, but there was no handcuffs on that. But I heard some stories about the conditions there and the third worldishness, if you will, and it's not like here. And you did that. But let me focus. Where are we, Sitsioka? Yeah, so the minister says, if you have an Afrocentric education, Brother Courtney, somebody paid a price. If you know how to stand up for your beautiful Black self, somebody paid a price, said Minister Farrakhan. And Sister Anissa Muhammad's article is at finalcall.com. one of the things, I don't know if you remember Sister Tioka and Brother Shaquille, if you could speak to this, Brother Doctor. I just know what I know me, and I know my family, and I know what I raised, but I also know, Allah's in control of that girl. But I just kept saying, how are we going to do this? Because I was looking at where she would have to be and the shared dorms and all of the different things as a first year student. I didn't want that. So I began looking for places like, we're going to have to stay off campus. And I think it was said that we weren't able to. I'm like, we're going to finagle that because she has to be in her own area. And I just kept looking at her. I was like, I don't think my baby going to do Cuba. I never disturbed her. I went all the way. Whatever they wanted to do, if they showed an interest, we were right there. And if they backed off, we backed off of that. But she's a behavioral therapist now. But I just knew that would be a challenge. And I think you shared the living condition there and how you all were navigating that. So, Brother Dr. Shakwal, how did you do with coming from the world of Apple or Samsung or computers? Comfy. I mean, just to go to your fridge and your running water, right? How was that element for you, like just a survival mechanism?
Well, you just had to be prepared to do away with, some of those things. I guess some of those worldly things. I guess, and I remember getting their internet or Wi-Fi. There was no Wi-Fi unless you go to the hotel, and you had to travel about an hour to get to the the inner city from where we were, the campus, and pay $15 an hour to log on to Facebook, talk to family, video chat if the internet was good enough. So that was a luxury. And also, there was in the neighborhood or the town next to the campus, there was a phone house, I guess you could call it. It was one house they had dial-up internet, or and you was able to make a phone call back outside of the country, which was at that time, I can't remember, however many cents a minute, and you had to wait in line. And it was a long line, and and you got a couple of times you can call. If they don't pick up, you got people waiting for you, so you may have to get in the back of line again to try again to call home. So that's how it was initially, until things got better throughout the years, and cell phones were able to have data plans, and you can have mobile Wi-Fi, and it had a lot of hotspots and stuff. But that came years later, and I remember having to get an apartment off campus because our Cuban brothers and sisters don't necessarily follow how to eat to live, so the food was very challenging. So I had to find a place so I can cook my own meals, which at the time also living off campus was a challenge because it wasn't actually, you had to have special permission to live off campus. So we had to work around that. And just another thing, it's important that you find your people where you go. Look for those who are like-minded enough, because you're actually, it's a battlefield. It's different. It's a third world country. It's not, you don't have the support like you used to back at home. So for me, it was really important that I find like-minded people, so I can, we can stay strong and link with. And those are some of the few things. And I tried my best to pack my bags, bring as many things as I could. Music. I remember I spent all night downloading music. So when I can bring it back with me, because I know once I cross over, that's it.
One of the things I remember is it was hard to get money to him. And that was a little frustrating, it's certain, what was it, Western Union?
Mm-hmm.
So we had to wait for a friend or somebody to come in from America that he knew to try to shop and send money and stuff like that. And then the other thing was keeping the minutes on the phone. But the thing too is that before he went, we went and we toured. So I walked through the dorms, the women dorms, and I seen the conditions. And it reminded me of a regular college, but just different, just not as modern. I remember, I don't know if you recall this. I remember I didn't go to the boys' dorm, but he went to the boys' dorm, and I was like, "How was it?" He was like, "You don't want to know." He was like,
I didn't. You're not going.
Yeah. He's like, "You don't want to," but he was fine with it, because he was. I was like, "You sure?" He was okay. He was like, I can do this." And I think you didn't stay a whole year on campus. I think you figured it out. And got a place off campus and
illegally.
He figured out. But what I noticed was that, where he was staying at, it's like a little community. Like I remember the first time I came to visit him, and his neighbor, she wrote me a letter in Spanish. Oh, it's that letter. I can't. It was a neighbor day. She was very sweet. And she wrote me a letter in Spanish, and they just seen him as like, because he was young, right? Like his son, like their son. And then I remember them always wanting to figure out how to feed you or give you coffee, the best coffee ever. So I was okay. If he was okay, I was okay. But when we were going visiting, I think we visited probably 3 times, maybe 4. 3 times, yeah. It was good. It was okay. We went to like places where like one time we went somewhere where Fidel Castro's brother was. We met Muslims out there, the Muslim community. It really did feel like home. I remember when we sat in the first one, we went to the Ministry of Defense. We said that was my favorite. And we sat for a presentation. And at the end of the presentation, I asked the brother that was the Ministry of Defense, I said, "Can I stay here?" And he said, "No." He said, "You need to go back to America and tell America about the real Cuba." And I've been doing that. I was like, people, the way that we're given what Cuba is like, it's not the same. When you go there, it's not the same.
Right. It's not against the American people. They were very clear on that. They wanted us to help to find a way to lift the blockade, So yeah, without question, beautiful people. And he looked at me and said, "No, we don't need you to live here.
We need you to go there.
Yeah, we need you to help open up the way."
Wow. I was impressed by their medical system as far as the way that they still go door to door. So they still got the black bag system going on when they go and they do home visits. There was another thing that I was impressed with as far as it was like the community pods. I don't think it was called that, but it was like polyclinics, right? Wow, I can't believe I remember that. And first of all of their healthcare is free, right? So let's just think about that in third world country under blockade,
right?
But the polyclinics was in the community, and I thought that was very impressive. How they had like teams that would go out and check on families within a radius. Yeah, so I was impressed.
Sister Charlene, you started off by asking him about making the transition from America with all the amenities and the games and the cell phones and everything. This is a funny story. In real time, Shaquille is a real good student. Homeschooling, I won't say it was easy, but once he got focused, he got to his work. And you can see he had discipline early on and he was focused, but he still was one of them gamers, so he would, and that was one of the fights, like get him off the game, and he would spend all of his extra time just on the games. And I would go in this room and it'd be dark and he'd be playing these games. And one of the times I came in there, he was playing, they call it Call of Duty, right? I stopped doing that a long time ago, so I didn't really pay attention. So one day I came in, he probably don't want to hear about this one. I came in and he's on the shoot 'em up ones, right? And as I'm looking at it, this shows you our government. as I'm looking at it, I'm like, wait a minute, that's Cuba. Come to find out, the game Call of Duty, it was to assassinate Fidel Castro. And I said to him, because he didn't realize how they do these things. And I said to him, either you're going to go into the military and continue to play this, or you're going to stop playing right now. I don't know if you remember that. I said, either you stop playing Call of Duty right now, otherwise we sending you into the military. Look at what they're doing. They literally had him, and they got people that come on the game, right? And they try, other people that try to come on, and it was to assassinate Fidel Castro. It's crazy to see how much they hate. Yeah,
it's on the game. Yeah,
that is very deep. Oh, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, oh, wow. That was the game. Yeah.
I remember. I mean, it surprised me.
I remember you telling me. Yeah. I remember when he was in the room and he came out. I was like, you know what he doing on the game? Like, what over there?
That is really deep. You know, those games, I remember when my son was the youngest and playing, I would always say, when I started hearing other people, I'm like, wait, who's here? And searching, and we found out, of course, that this is how they recruit, you know, pilots and all types of specialists through the games. But yeah, it's indoctrination. By the way, perfect segue, Brother Courtney, and then we'll come back and I want to ask a couple of questions about, you know, uniqueness there in terms of how you studied and certain things like that before we close out with your closing remarks. But I want to spotlight a little bit about Sister Candace, who an idea for, you know, tonight's homeschooling show came up. So let me see if I can share that. We'll be right back. Let me present her first. Thank you all for being with us. This is there were several shows in which Sister Candace Owens spoke about this. I remember looking at one of her broadcasts when she just, the light bulb seemed to go off, and she was like, you know, as a matter of fact, pull your children out of these schools. From what Brother Courtney is sharing, you know, having that moment, this is something I want to, here we go. There is a lot going on in this country right now. And let me tell you something. This is the most important battle. The battle for future generations. If we do not win this battle, nothing else will matter. Nothing. None of the arguments, nothing will matter. If these kids grow up and they belong to the system, America will fall. I am passionate right now in speaking to mothers and in speaking to fathers and in telling you guys that the time is now to pull your kids out. Bring your children back home. They will learn more in your household. I don't care how you have to organize. I promise you, you can do it. Organize with people down the street. Pull your children out of these indoctrination camps. Save the children. There is a lot going on. Sister Candace, she said, oh, we're back. She said, save the children. Oh, why are we like this? Sorry, y'all. We don't want to be like this. Hold on a second.
You're liberating that sister.
Yes. You said what? You said what, brother?
You're liberating that sister.
Oh, you talking about Sister Candace?
No, Sister Tioka. You had her on the screen.
Yeah, something's going on here, and I'm not presenting anymore. So that's a Charlene thingy. Oh, there we go. All right. J. Lawash, thank you for tuning in. She says nothing but the truth. I think that is in terms of what Sister Candace is saying. But again, you know, it's the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said it then. And they actually, I mean, they went to jail. They obeyed him so beautifully and perfectly, like we're here and we can comfortably dress, right, Sister Tioka? Brother Courtney, you can dress. Brother Shaquan, we can joke about, maybe what you experienced there, but you were able to get homeschooled by your mom with the support of your father and your family and go to live your dream. So what did you like most about attending school in Cuba?
Okay.
You don't have to say most. You can say just some things that you really enjoyed about being there. I was going to venture off to say like, not stop and frisk, but I don't want to go there. let me let you let you answer the question.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, never really had any issues with like the Cuban people themselves and I mean law enforcement and stuff in that manner. They all knew um they recognized us as international students and knew what we were there for. And they looked out for us, because if they see us doing there was some students that um probably were a little too free being in a new country by themselves, relatively young, and then they may, get into some trouble. But a lot of the Cuban people really helped get them back in line. They looked out for us. Like you need to, like you're here for a reason. That's something I really like. The Cuban culture and the Cuban people themselves, it in my opinion was a great environment to learn in. I mean, I think that really contributed a lot to me being able to be successful and stay there. I remember some people that came with us who quit, and they quit mainly because of just, the living conditions. And they didn't really take the time to immerse themselves in Cuba and take out all of the good things that they were given to us, like for free. But if you if you focus too much on what you're losing coming from America, you end up losing because you're looking for America in Cuba, which is that's you're gonna fail. So I think the best thing that I did was, I didn't think of myself as a Cuban, but I lived like a Cuban, and I was amongst the Cubans. That's how my Spanish got the best it has gotten from learning in America. My ability to study, because we had to study in Spanish. Once I let go of trying to separate myself and just fully immerse myself in the back.
Mhm. Just in case.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank
Sorry.
you.
Got to plug in
No,
there.
Sorry. Want to make sure we don't die before we get done.
I know, no, and we're about to wrap up too. And thank you all so much. This is so inspirational. I really appreciate it. And how was it with your? So I know once you're finished there, you have to go through pretty much like double hoops here. If someone finishes here in the States, they go through residency, etc. But you have like extra certification to go through, right? How was that process for you? If you could explain a little bit about that. Not a lot. Just what did you have to do to actually become a doctor here in the States?
So, I mean, one thing, if you're a doctor there, you're a doctor in the States. But to be able to be, recognized and able to practice, it was a challenge because
Right.
what separated the curriculum from Cuba and America is that in America, they train you and they teach you in order to pass these exams, these board exams, so that you can, enter into residency easier. But Cuba didn't have that. So I had to study aside from the Cuban curriculum, I had to study on the side to be able to prepare myself for the boards, and then take the boards outside of the normal, semesters. So I had to leave Cuba on off times to be able to take the exam and then come back. So there's 3 exams you have to take before you can go into residency, and this is all on your own if you're going through the Cuban curriculum. And before you can start residency there, and then there's a whole other application process to have that, and then to go into residency then. So yeah, it's a lot more after you finish medical school, but you know,
Hey, it's just
it's all
happening
a
on.
process.
Yeah, just
Yes,
steps you
ma'am.
got to take. You were determined. There's nothing more powerful than a made up mind, as we're taught, right? And so, what type of medicine do you practice?
So I just finished training in family medicine, which is
Ooh,
a yes, ma'am, which is preventative, primary care. And I chose that, like I said, going and learning medicine in Cuba, had no choice but to recognize the power in primary care and community medicine. And then I went further to do a fellowship in emergency medicine. So now I'm currently now in the fellowship, well, 1 year fellowship for emergency medicine, so that I can have both primary care and emergency care under my belt. So I'll be able to fully, fully take care of most, if not any, all possible medical problems at the primary level, before things get too, too far.
I love it,
You,
Doctor.
she over there looking like a proud auntie. She said,
Do you see?
okay, God, I'm sorry.
I have to say, Shaquella is really humble. And when it comes down to putting the work in, he finished at 25 years old. He's 32
Woo!
now. So, but he had challenges. One is just to your point, making it from Cuba to here and jumping through the hoops that had to be jumped through in order for him to become a licensed doctor here. But then right when he got home, shortly after that, COVID hit. So he could not go directly into a residency. And it absolutely caused him a lot of stress because the residency program is that next step that has to be made right after you come out of medical school. And that got, it didn't happen. And I remember, the sad faces and trying to figure out if it's going to happen and not sure if he's going to be able to get in. And I watched how, once again, Allah and him staying the course, and even if he did try to get off the course, I think he recognized that Allah put him back on the course. But the reality is that he definitely has worked hard from the time he's gotten out of medical school to now become licensed. And just to see all of the tests and examinations and we're not talking about a couple hour examination. He's telling me whole day examinations that he had to study for. And I remember when I brought him to one of my doctors just to talk to him because he wanted to push off the test, push off the test, push off the test. And the doctor just said, you just can't keep pushing it off. You have to just go ahead, study as much as you can and just take it. So I watched how Allah's hand just came at the right time. Each time he got into a point, whereas he was maybe wondering if he's going to make it through. But to see him make it through is just such a great honor to see someone make it through. So
It really is. And thank you for sharing that, Brother Courtney. And Sister Tioka, yes, I am just beaming over here. That's why I come off because I'm just cheesing. Sister Kadara's in the thread. And Sister Kadara, thank you too, because as she said, his journey from homeschool to becoming a doctor was so impactful and inspiring for the other homeschoolers in the community. She was very helpful. You all don't know how you help us and you helped us and other homeschool moms. I know for me, it was invaluable. When the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says to do something, we strive as much as we can to do it. But then how do you get it done? That was my thing, how to do it. I had the will. And then and then to see the fruition of it, like you for your journey, you're there where he's concerned. And now you have your other children. Someone asked, what city and state are you all in? They're in Utica. I say Utica, but it's Utica.
Utica, New
Utica.
York.
They way up there. They up there in the cold.
Right, and
we sending it
and
down
to
to y'all.
answer your question, like how do part is that's what the MUI Homeschooling Network was birthed out of. It's like we needed to pool our resources, and especially being in upstate New York, it used to be like the Central New York hub, where it's like Utica, Syracuse, Rochester, Buffalo, Albany. Like we all figured out how to pool our resources and work together and reach the cross across the globe. I mean, we had sisters in Washington State homeschooling, part of the homeschooling network, administrator. Homeschool Network. That's Sister Georgina, shout out. Sister Kadara, administrator. Sister Dawn and Alance, administrator. Like we were running this homeschool network like as if we were brick and mortar, and this was all done on the phone through email. And then we were like, when Google Meet became a thing, we started each one teach one classes. We started bringing in science teachers and Brother Carlos. Also known as our brother Salam, Imam Salam, he came in and he taught the children about the Nation of Islam, the history of the Nation of Islam. It was just the pooling of resources, and we got it done. And out of that, we've gotten so many brilliant, we call them nation babies. We have authors, we have gymnasts, we have teachers, we have sister, we have nation babies that started their own school. It's just a beautiful thing to see that just by us pulling our resources, we were able to accomplish this and continue to accomplish these things. So I'm very thankful that I had sisters that was willing to work together. Like we were all willing to work together to figure out how to get our children not connected to this worldly understanding of the school system and tracking them the way that people normally do, but to pull our resources, work together and lean on one another so that we can get them to the ultimate goal. And that's not just being a professional, but also being a believer, striving in the way of Allah and striving to take what they're taught to uplift the community. So I'm grateful that I was a part of it and still a part of it. Yeah. And so all praises to Allah.
Sister Charlene, you know, one of the things that I would say, because I was the local student minister, and it's like I can't send my children to the school district and I'm firing off like Farrakhan and he's got all of this in his head and he's got to go to the schools, whereas his teachers are white women. Right. It's not going to work. It ain't going to work too well. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it made sense to pull them out and do what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had asked us to do, you know, teach our own. So absolutely.
Wow. It is a sacrifice beyond belief, but it was made before we did it. People showed us how to do it. The pioneers, again, Mother Bernstein, the reformers, Sister Bernstein, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, his family, Mother Clara Muhammad, their children. And so one thing I remember, Sister Tioka, Sister Kadara, is that all of the sisters that I engage with, whenever I would reach into the homeschool network, you all were so patient. Y'all was so patient. I mean, and had the, you know, you knew where the information was. I just wanted to follow. And my husband, like you, Brother Courtney, was very supportive. He went to work, goes to work. It's like, whatever you do. I mean, this home was school. If it had to be the recreation center, whatever it needed to be. But I just remember a patient network, all of you all. And so because of that, I feel that to the best of my ability and our ability, we were able to do what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches. You know, so to hear Candace Owens now saying that, and I'm looking at the comments and the people are doing what she's saying. You know, one of the things that comes to mind is what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teach us is that we're going to everyone is going to come by these teachings. Everyone. So I have so many more questions I could ask you, Brother Dr. Shakwal, just in terms of how, you know, like how I'll ask one more and then you all give your closing remarks. So it's not to tax you because I know you're 3 hours up there. But Brother Dr. Shakwal, what is most rewarding to you now? I'll ask a double question. One of the questions is what is the biggest reward you feel right now in terms of going through what you went through? And with the help of your mother and father, and also, do you ever speak to younger, you're 32 now, so like babies or young adults or even youth who ask you, what's it like to be a doctor?
I guess that is the biggest reward, is able to be in a position to be an example and having good role models, people to follow, to be able to, you know, be a good example and pass the torch. Because if they see that, you know, I can do it, they know that they can do it too. And we just recently had this summer, because they have here at the building, they do a summer camp, and they bring children, and we do small exhibits, and we showcase careers. And I had the opportunity to show and tell what's it like to be a doctor. I think there were children ages up to 12,
5 to 12. Mm-hmm.
5 to 12, and they all had a good time asking questions. What does the doctor do? And they had many questions. It's just answering their questions and seeing the light in their eyes, and messing with my stethoscope and listening to their heart. So those small things, those are wins, you know, because it just shows that, you know, I'm in a position to be able to and to be able to be a good example to the future generation. And also to my patients, I mean, I've always bring those qualities I learned from, I mean, like, I can't help it, you know, always an FOI, and no matter who my patient is, and they see the difference in how they treat it. From when I walk in the room, there's countless of comments I get back, and I don't realize it. And it's good to see that, you know, definitely those teachings and qualities, definitely, you know, it really outshines a lot of what the people are used to.
Wow. Now you're in New York. This might not be the case, but I would venture to ask, do you have some patients that are shocked, like some little old ladies, and they'd be like, "Oh my God, you're the doctor."
That happens a lot. Yes, man.
They love it. Don't they love it? Really?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't had anyone really. I mean, they will look at me when I walk in, and they're like, "You're too young to be my doctor." But then when I start talking and you know, because it's a work of service. You know, once they know, I mean, like, you don't come in with a big head just because, you know, and you let them know that, you know, I work for you. And they you can tell how they change. You know, they can be apprehensive, and they can be not too sure because of my age. They used to the, you know, older white man with white hair and glasses come in, and they see me. You know, it's a lot of times they try to see what I'm about. By the end of the meeting, at the end of the appointment, they, you know,
Wow.
they're happy to work on, you know, their health together.
Brother, this boy, you about to be a director of the hospital in one quick minute. I'm gonna come to the service. So, did you come across these two beautiful sisters there?
Yes, ma'am. Those are my sisters there. Yeah, they were. I think they were 2 years. Yeah, 2 years behind me.
Uh-huh.
And, I had the opportunity to help them, you know, because I was there. I was a senior, so
Wow.
a lot of things that a lot of, you know, how to move and how to do things. So I've been through it, and I try to be there as much as I can whenever they went through things. And yeah, those sisters, they really did their thing out there.
Man,
And
they
I'm
did.
proud of them. They went through the program successfully.
Yeah, proud of them. This is Sister Dr. Rakaya Farrakhan. This is the daughter of our beloved Sister Karen Farrakhan, who has made her transition, and our dear Supreme Captain Brother Mustafa Farrakhan. She's the granddaughter of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And this is Sister Dr. Mariam Farrakhan. Her father, Brother Louis Farrakhan, has made his transition. Her mother, Sister Lisa Muhammad, and they did that. And so Sister Janiyah S. Adams out of Georgia wrote the article. I think it's Florida. Pardon me, Sister Janiyah. Let me just say our contributing writer wrote this article on their journey. And I love the title that was there. We survived. Now it's time to thrive. Perseverance and passion to become doctors in Cuba. So, you know, there are people, believers, young believers, you all, who heard the invitation of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I keep saying the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I find myself saying them together because
It's okay. It's okay.
in place. So I'm not confused about what I'm saying, but in actual facts, this is the bloodline of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and they did that. And so people are taking advantage. And if I haven't heard that door is closed. And so if you have children who are interested, that's still there. I think it may be a little bit more complicated now, right? Sister Tioka, Brother Courtney, Brother Doctor, you all can share that if you want. But I want to say, we'll make way after any comment about anything we've shared. You all can begin and share your closing remarks.
Okay, I'll go first.
That's right.
Okay, so first I just want to say thank you again for having us on.
Oh,
This is actually this is probably the first interview that you've done like this, and
y'all.
I believe so.
I did it with me. Oh, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I want to take it back to where we started when you called me as far as the homeschooling and how important it is to understand that knowledge is power, and the more information you have, the more fear disappears, right? So if you're worried that you're not going to be able to get through or accomplish, ask somebody, pull your resources, study as much as you can. I have been listening to Candace, and she has been very consistent from the time that she said that she got into homeschooling. She's been very consistent at telling people, like, why would you send your children into these schools for them to indoctrinate them with their understanding? This stuff is controlled by people who really don't care about the success of your children. It's a system. And I tell people this when people, talk about they want to homeschool, but they feel like they don't have the time, but they feel like they're not qualified, or they feel like they can't, they don't know enough. I said, well, don't no one care about your child more than you do. So start there. Because like what you quoted, if a person won't treat you right, they definitely won't teach you right. And I'm not saying that that's across the board in the school system, but if the education is set up to make us a tool and a slave, or to keep us into the system of service where they're not producing thinkers, they don't want us to be critical thinkers. They want us to be regurgitators. I just don't see. I don't see a comparison, because for me, I knew I had, and I still have, my children's best interests at heart. So you can do it. What Home Depot said, you can do it, and we can help. So if anybody ever was questioning and wondering or wanted to get started by homeschooling, we are still available. That's my closing remark.
Thank you. Brother Courtney?
Yeah, just want to say all praise is due to Allah for Sister Tioka and the homeschooling network that she helped to create. Because in real time, when Fidel and the minister got together and he gave the minister 500 scholarships to become a doctor, I mean, of course, I jumped on it, we jumped on it, and we were really hoping that many others in the nation would also jump on this opportunity. But Shaquel, to show you the level of difficulty that Sister Tioka was able to navigate, he's the first and only FOI that has completed the program. And I know that when we were talking with Dr. Larry and others to try to find out, my wife tried to be very instrumental in helping others to navigate the process, but it just didn't happen. It was very difficult for her. And even though she's homeschooling, had the homeschooling network, she had to put the extra work in to make sure that we got through all of the red tape, not just to get them there, but to keep them there. And that just shows you how Allah has really supported this thing from start to finish. And, I think about Shaquel being in this, in the medical field. And I believe the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that he would not rest until the wicked medical profession is destroyed. And to know that Fidel Castro, from his love from his friend, Che Guevara, who was a doctor, and that he put down his medicine bag in order to pick up revolution to free the people of Cuba. That is what Shaquille is. He's a part of a revolution in medicine. And at this hour, to see how this enemy is trying his best to take over our bodies through the food, through the toxins, through everything that is out there today, it's never been this bad. And to know that we got a brother from a medical system that is a revolution in medicine, I believe that Allah has big plans for him. We pray that he continues to fulfill those plans so that we can do what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, one of his last efforts before he departed, was a hospital for Muhammad. And it just happened that when Shaquille got back to Utica, that his residency ended up being in Utica. We didn't know it was going to end up this way. But at the same time he's doing his residency, Utica had embarked on the first hospital in New York State in 40 years, was built here in Utica. $650 million project that Shaquille walked into. And because of Allah's permission, he became the poster child for new doctors in this area. And it's kind of interesting also in Utica, New York, that we have a very high Muslim population. It doesn't make any sense. At one time, we were only second to Detroit, Michigan. So it seems like Allah is already planning things. And I pray that everyone continues to pray for us here in Utica. And with Shaquille's determined mind, I pray, and with his mother right there behind him, that we can do some things to continue, or he can do things and we can do things to continue to inspire our nation. And thank the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for all of his sacrifices to allow us to be able to have this gift of a doctor who is of our community right here in Utica, New York. Thank you so much, Sister Charlene, for giving us this opportunity. So much more I can say, but you already know, we're just thankful. How do we show thanks to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, but to try to continue to serve?
Y'all got me full over here, brother. Thank you for what you, man, you see, strong family, strong nation, right? This is Muhammad's family right here. This is so beautiful. Brother walked right into that brand new facility. It's all, we're taught things happen in our last timing. Who knows where his residency would have been? It's right there at home. This is so beautiful. I'm very, very full. Brother Dr. Shaquille, would you like to please give us your closing remarks? Because I got a lot of questions. I'm just going to let them go. That Sister Kadara, thank you. I think maybe it would be good if we could, from this show, start to highlight periodically, but often, what some of our other students who matriculated through the Homeschool Network have done and are doing. Because at the end of the day, the doors are about to close anyway. So, the bearing of witness, whether she knows it or not, that Sister Candace is doing by calling her followers and people who are listening to her, who, they're doing it. Some people might not have those means, but everybody's going to come through these teachings or by these teachings. But we can talk about that, Sister Shioka, off the air, and
Yes,
I'll reach out to Sarah. Go ahead, Brother Shaquille. I think we should, because you're just too inspirational.
First, I want to thank you for having us, Sister Charlene, on your show here, and always want to give gratitude and appreciation to my parents for putting in, the effort and sacrifice, and to helping me become who I am, or who I'm still becoming today. And I want to thank Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan again also for helping facilitate and make these possible, that we can study medicine in Cuba. And I also want to, I just want to say that we should still take advantage of that, because we still need more doctors. I think there would never be, I think the per capita of doctors per resident in Cuba. I think I can't remember at the time, was 100 to 1. And I can't remember how compared to it was in the U.S. Don't quote me 100%, but I think it was multiples more. So, I think in our nation we need to strive to have many more doctors as we can. We have this opportunity, and as I'm not 100% completed in my eyes and my training. I still have one more year till I could probably tell myself that I've officially finished. I'm still grateful to be in the position I am, and hopefully, that thought I had when I was 11, 12 years old, that I wanted to be in a position to be of best use to the community, to our community, to our nation. Hopefully, I will be able to be used in that way, in that fashion, God willing. So as I continue to continue to do my job, the training, to make sure I'm prepared to be able to do what I can. I just want other homeschoolers, homeschooling parents to consider, that gift we still have from our brother Fidel Castro, and take advantage of medicine in Cuba.
Well said. All praises due to Allah. I will wrap it there. I pray to have you all on again. If you ever want to share something, feel free to call me. This is Sister Tioka Muhammad, her husband, Brother Courtney Muhammad, their son, Brother Dr. Shaikwal Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam, Sister Charlene. You were smiling.
Oh my gosh. My son's dog, by the way, who's over there in Grambling. I homeschooled him. Sister Tioka helped me so much. Sister Donna, Sister Kadara, the Homeschool Network. His name is Mustafa Muhammad, and he's in software engineering. So when Brother Courtney talks about the games, yeah, we had a lot. It was a lot of incentivizing that I had to do with this child. And I remember a seer told me once, he's going to need to see what's in it for him. Speaking of my son, and once I realized that, that's how I was able to get through a lot. But I just enjoyed homeschooling my children. I sat one day and I said, this is what they get, meaning the teachers. I would send them to, my son's never been in school like that, but my daughter, she did go to a school that was run by one of our student ministers' wives here. She had a school, Kitty Tots, and that's Sister Jennifer and Brother Student Minister Samad. May Allah be pleased with him, out of Compton, and they had Kitty Tots. So that was the school my daughter went into, and I was jealous after I realized, you have them all day, and their little characters and nuances and wants and desires and their minds, like the fullness of them. I got to really learn my children. It was frightening. But again, the Muhammad University Homeschool Network, and it was just invaluable to me, and it helped me get to a point where my children could live their life. My son is at Grambling University now, Grambling State, and my daughter is a behavioral therapist, but she is a proud stay-at-home wife and mom, and I love that for her. And the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the way. Pure facts, 100%, hands down. There's no way around it. He is our leader, teacher, and guide. He's the eternal leader of the Nation of Islam. All the mistakes in rearing children and family are mine, and all of the successes are his. And when I look at Brother Dr. Shaikwal, and I look at Sister Tioka and Brother Courtney, I am just wowed, because I don't want to say root, but you root, right? You root for people, you cheer them on, I remember that. I mean, I don't know if Tioka remembers this. We were talking, she's in New York. So anytime with me, it's a late time for her at any endeavor, but she took time out. Brother Courtney, I didn't know she was homeschooling all of the children. I thought it was just one. So you did it. You're an inspiration. You're a beacon of light. You're a bearer of witness, your family, to the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Go ahead. Mosquito wants to say something. And I just thank Allah for being able to have a platform to say that. And I do want to say, before I put on the closing music and go see about Nova Cash Muhammad, Go ahead, Sister Candace Owens, do your thing, because people are following you out of wherever it is that you're asking them to go. But we were told by our leader, teacher, and guide that these are the killing fields. And in a few short days, there won't be any schools to send people to anyway. So get a head start. Get a head start. Pick up the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad through the guidance and leadership in his physical absence of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. You got finalcall.com. You have all the books, tapes, and what have you. You have store.finalcall.com, and you can actually read his articles right there every week in the Final Call newspaper. And then you also have Minister Farrakhan's center column. I didn't go fully into the Final Call today. I wanted to give the guests as much time as possible. But thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for the love and the light that you sent them. And above all, I want to say thank you to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for accepting your assignment. You stood up on your ground, Minister Farrakhan, and if it were not for you, we would not know the name of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I don't have the book, it's in the room. We would not know that a Savior was born and a Savior came. And look at this. You all know that Brother Timothy Muhammad at the Final Call did this cover. And you see how this light is emanating, just shining on the Christ. Oh, woo! This paper right here, yeah. Honoring his mighty mission and work. Thank Allah for all of the FOI that go out every week, every day, door to door, on the corner, in the highways and the byways to share the word of God. I'm Sister Charlene Muhammad. I'm going to get the music. We're going to get up out of here. Happy Holy Day of Atonement.